Welcome back to AM Northwest. Rugelach means little twist in Yiddish, and our next guest has put her own Pacific Northwest twist on them. We welcome back the author of Braids, Sonya Sanford. Great to see you again,
so
Sonya.
So nice to see you, Ellen.
Okay.
And you pronounce that so well. It's not an easy word.
So tell me about Rugelach.
So Rugelach, like the Yiddish says, is little twists. They're almost, as you pointed out earlier, tiny cinnamon buns in flavor. But you make an unsweetened dough, and then you can fill it with anything.
Is there a tradition to when you eat them or anything? No?
It's so common in Jewish bakeries and delis, especially on the East Coast. And when I had my deli here in Portland, this sold out every day.
Oh, wow. Okay, then show me how you make them.
Okay,
so you've got...
So I start by whipping together cream cheese and butter.
Oh.
And no sugar. Do you want to do a little of this?
Yeah. Is the butter, looks like it's been room temperature, right?
Room temperature for both. And you want to get it nice and fluffy, which takes a minute. And we'll do it a little faster here.
Okay.
But you really want to take your time.
There we go.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Okay.
And we can turn that off. There we go.
Okay.
And then, again, no sugar. So just salt, cream cheese, and unsalted butter.
Do you have a problem with sugar?
I don't, but you know, I don't like my desserts to be overly sweet.
Okay, gotcha.
And what I love about this dough, it's a very flaky, tender, layered dough, and you could fill these with anything. So sometimes I do pizza rugelach with tomato sauce and cheese.
Oh, really?
And I like the versatility of it.
Okay.
So then we just add 2 cups of flour. It's pretty easy to remember. 1 package of cream cheese, 2 sticks of butter, 2 cups of flour.
Okay.
And
easy.
then you mix this until just combine. You don't want to overmix. And we'll just let that go. And it will come together. It's almost like pie dough.
Yeah.
But it's a little less fussy, a little less precious. Okay. And sometimes rugelach are made with yeasted dough, but my preference is the cream cheese based dough. And then you wrap it up in a disc. And it's important to let it rest for about 2 hours in the fridge. This is pre-rested. Okay, and you wrap this into 3 different discs. So you get a bunch of cookies out of 1 batch of dough.
Okay.
All right, so what I'm gonna do is add a little flour to my surface, just because we don't want this to stick. And it's one of those things where you don't have to worry if you add a little too much flour. It's a pretty forgiving dough.
Okay, good.
And then I like to just turn my dough every couple rolls so that it evenly goes into a circle. But if it's not perfect, it's still gonna work.
Okay.
Do you wanna give a try at it?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And then just turn it. Yeah. There you go. So you can feel it's like a pretty soft dough. It's pretty easy to roll out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a little like biscuit dough is what it feels like.
Oh yeah, not too, and you can see little flecks of butter. Okay, and then I'll help you finish that off. And we'll get it, we can flip it on the other side and see it's not sticking. And it's, you know, pretty supple. And I like to get it as thin as possible.
Oh, okay.
And you're gonna see how we form this into these little twists. Okay, so again, not a perfect circle, but it's still gonna work.
By the way, how's your podcast going?
The podcast is going great.
Okay.
Yeah, we've been landing in the top food charts in the US.
That's great. And it's called Food Friends.
Food Friends, Home Cooking Made Easy.
All right.
So
now,
now we're adding the Northwest twist. Usually rugelach are made with flavors like apricot or raspberry, sometimes just cinnamon, and sometimes chocolate. And I started making it with local Marionberry jam.
Oh, great.
Which
Who doesn't love them?
Yeah, I mean Marionberries.
I love Marionberry.
It's so Pacific Northwest. You could use any of your favorite jam. You could use cherry jam, grape jam. But I think the tartness and the sweetness of the Marionberries is so good. And so I'm not against sugar. This jam is sweet. And you're gonna see we're gonna add even more sugar. And that's gonna be why it makes sense. But also I wanna caution anyone who makes this to not overfill their dough. You'll think like, oh, that's a pretty thin layer of jam, right?
Thin, yeah.
But if you add any more than this, it's gonna seep out and burn, and it won't taste as good.
Okay.
Okay, so then we take cinnamon sugar.
Oh, there we go.
A little smell of the cinnamon sugar.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes, and then
you want me to just
sprinkle it everywhere.
Okay.
Generously.
I do. A friend gave
me
a jar of cinnamon sugar, and now I use it on my toast. It's the best.
Isn't it the best? Okay, that's pretty good.
Okay. There we go.
Great. And now what we do is we cut it like a pizza, and I do find a pizza cutter works best for this, but you could use a knife.
It's the tiniest pizza cutter I've ever seen.
I like it for cookies.
Sure.
It is a tiny pizza cutter. And then so I've done quarters, and now I'm
Okay.
gonna go the other direction.
Alrighty.
Is it starting to make sense what's gonna happen?
Yep.
Okay.
Now I see it.
All right, and then I like to make it even smaller. Some people leave
Oh,
it
wow.
there, but I like to make my rugelach pretty small because the more the merrier. All right, and then, do you want to help me roll up some?
Well, I need you to
I'll show
me.
you. Okay, so you take one triangle, and from the thick side at the bottom, you roll inward
Oh, I would have
until
thought the other way. Okay.
it forms a point, and then you can just stick it seam side down on a parchment-lined baking sheet.
There we go. Oh, yes.
And there you go.
That works.
And you can keep going. And then the other key to this recipe, I think people get frustrated when they make this at home because sometimes your cookies will split or they'll unravel, and that makes it a little bit upsetting.
Sure.
The key to not having that happen is to freeze these for 15 minutes before you
bake them.
Yes.
That's a really good idea.
And that helps with a lot of cookie
Yeah.
shaping, by the way, not just rugelach. Okay, and then the last step, so we would finish forming all of these, put them on our baking sheet, and then what we do is we brush it with egg wash, and this is going to give them their golden color.
Yeah.
But then the last little thing that I like to do is I add a little turbinado sugar.
Oh,
Do
yes.
you know?
Oh, yes. You do like sugar.
I
There
love
we go.
sugar,
Yeah.
see?
Yeah.
Well, when it's appropriate, but
Right.
I also like when it's not too sweet, and then that gives that such a nice crystally edge.
Gives it a great color and then a
Yes.
little sparkle at the end. I love it.
Yes.
May I try it?
Yeah, and you bake it at 375 for 15.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, sweet but not too sweet.
Oh, it's perfect.
Great with a cup of coffee or a cup of tea.
I love the Marionberry.
And the other thing is this holds really well. It will last at room temperature for up to a week.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
I was going to steal another bite. I had to do that.
I'm so happy.
Sorry. We're going to put the recipe on our website at k2.com, and Sonia's book is Braid, Sonya Sanford. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
Yeah,
Helen.
great stuff. Oh, we're going to bake the rest of these, right?
Oh, sure.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be right back with more AM Northwest.